Matt, welcome. Good to have you. First place I wanted to start is a conversation that you and I had offline. Um, how can AI be simplified so that everybody can benefit from the possibilities?
I think that question is like backwards. I think like most companies think that AI is going to simplify things for them, so the answer is always AI. Like that that is probably the biggest challenge. I think we were talking last time is like there's so much companies can do with business process automation. And everybody's just like referring to AI as business process automation. So like the first thing to simplify it is for people to probably start understanding what it is and how they can like actually utilize it to get that next level of intelligence.
Hmm.
And I think that's the bubble that we're currently in is just trying to educate people on the art of the possible. When they get all these news articles coming out where people just think that they're missing out, and you've got like this FOMO, that all this amazing innovations happening. And that's not because someone's done it overnight, it's because they've put quite a bit of thought into a lot of things. So yeah, I think that the first thing to do is understand what the hell AI is.
Yeah, that's so funny. It's like that quote where it takes like 10 years to have an overnight success.
Yep. And that's what everybody's looking at the moment. You see all the big press releases, you think, wow, I'm missing out. But the reality is, it wasn't an overnight success.
Yeah, that's funny. Okay, so business process automation. So what does that mean?
So, well, I look like a 12-year-old with a beard sat in a teenager's bloody office with all my quirky lights, but I've been in IT, what, 20 years? And when I first started, we used to have this term called digital transformation, and everybody had a digital transformation strategy. Um, and the sad thing is, 20 years on, we still need to do those basics. So when we talk about business process automation, that was one of the elements of digital transformation back in the day. So actually looking at your processes and seeing how you can automate, orchestrate, and do things more effectively. So the the biggest challenge these businesses still have is they still need to do the digital transformation, whether that's like looking at their data in a different lens and extracting all of the good data and using that in their projects, or just looking at how their processes currently operate. And I think AI is seen as this like wonder pill. You take it
Yeah,
and it solves everything.
like the
But
Matrix.
yeah, exactly. It just isn't like that. And we jokingly talk about like these overnight successes. Um, People didn't get to the point where their application or their business became AI automated overnight. It's took that digital transformation. Some startups are a lot luckier than established businesses. I think if you're an established business, it's really hard to like pivot to that mentality. And that's why, as I say, I've been in IT 20 years and customers are still under the digital transformation banner.
Hmm. So AI is the new business process automation, is the new digital transformation.
Yeah, yeah, literally. I say it so often, honestly, it's just digital transformation all over again, but you've got some tools that really expedite it if you get it right. Like the biggest difference between now and 20 years ago is like the tools are much more advanced.
Yeah, and that was actually going to be my follow-up question. Like, why does this seem like such a hype? Why is there such an AI bubble? But is it down to the advancement of the tooling?
The introduction of large language models is just like help things progress really quick. So, like if you take the introduction of ChatGTP as a prime example, everybody could chat holistically to get answers. Like
Yeah.
whereas before, like when I first started in IT, I was battling with Google to find answers. So I'd be finding creative ways to get Google to give me the answers. Well, not really the answers, a place to look for the answers. Whereas
To
like a
then go
chat
and like
GPT,
seek the answer out.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Whereas now you can be like, oh, I've got this problem. Give me two creative ways to fix it. and it might get it a little bit wrong, but like as a subject matter expert, I can say, oh, that looks a little bit wrong. Actually, I think you got this bit wrong. And then it goes, oh yeah, you're right. Let me correct it. Which so my like work pipeline as a IT technician would be spend hours researching, understanding the issue, and doing my own ChatGPT in my head to decipher the answer. Whereas now I can just be like, I know it's probably this, what to look at next, and you just like streamline that pipeline. And that is a good example across everything, right? And that's what you're trying to do with AI. You're trying to streamline whatever work process, whatever automation flow, just streamline it.
Yeah, that is funny. That's funny. Yeah, you know, when you frame it like that, it kind of makes you think, yeah, we've kind of had this for a while. We're just putting a new sticker on it.
Yeah. Well, when I was a bit of a nerd, I used to work for a managed service provider, looking after companies' computers, and like this big rise in agentic AI. We used to have some agents sat on every single workstation, every single server that we used to support, and what I was training that agent to do was look for things that I'd have to fix regularly as a technician. So one of the easy examples, because I used to work in a school, like the printers always stopped working at a certain time due to whatever it might be. And a quick, easy fix to it is someone logs into the server, right-clicks print spooler, restarts the print spooler. But obviously that's quite time consuming. So you just train the agent to look for when that print spooler service is not running or there's an error. And guess what? You just tell it to restart. And we could do that like 20 years ago. So it's like not net new. It's just the tools have become so much more advanced and there's a lot more logic in that. Yeah.
I think as well in today's world, there's a lot more that's being done publicly. There's a lot more scrutiny. There's a lot more projects being built at scale. I think that's also a reason why AI is kind of on this hype train, right? Because there's a lot of, I think the publicity thing as well. I think a lot's being built, developed, shared, criticized, shown in public. Whereas before, with social media and sharing things online, it wasn't as common. But now I think, you know, like Day in the Life and On Along for the Journey and all these things, I think it's open to scrutiny. And then that then also fosters new ideas, bigger ideas, grander ambition. So I think that probably plays into it a little bit as well.
It is strange, like looking at that, like social, economical impact side as well. Like social media has just made everything become hyper focused and like go viral or blow up overnight. We definitely didn't have that like 20 years ago.
That's what I mean. Yeah, like who cared about the printer in the school 20 years ago, right? Who knew about the printer in the school 20 years ago?
The teacher printing and the lesson plan.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I mean. You mentioned something a minute ago that I wanted to go back to, which was a point I've got written down I wanted to talk to you about, AI FOMO. I think as a headline, everybody can hear that and then make up their own mind, or they can think of a case study where there's been AI FOMO in the market. But what do you mean by AI FOMO?
So we were joking before we kickstarted this. We're running quite a lot of events just to educate people around AI factories and what the hell they mean and what they are from a tangible point of view. And we ran something called an AI Roadshow a few weeks ago in London. Literally, one of the customers just wrote, we asked, why do you want to attend? And there was just FOMO. I'm like, that's hilarious. Like, okay, I get it.
Wow.
But it goes back to like this digital transformation piece, because the reason people are getting FOMO is they're still stuck in the trenches with doing the basic digital transformation, whether that's like classifying data, whether it's getting your house in order. And we've got to remember there's a lot of technical legacy debt as well. Yeah. So people are still in this phase of keeping the lights on whilst trying to transition to this all new world. And one thing I've always noticed in IT, on the left-hand side, you've got the IT hardware, software, demigod nerds. And then on the right-hand side, you've got the developers and the cloud native community, and for as long as I can remember, there's two completely polar opposite sections of society. It's almost like they don't talk to each other.
Yeah.
So genuinely, we had one customer rock up to that roadshow, and it was the first time the data scientist guy had met the IT guy from the same company. I'm just like, what?
Introducing themselves, and they're like, wait, you work for the same company?
Genuinely, which is bizarre, but what I'm seeing is like, with how the amount of current news and focus and this FOMO around AI, those two communities need to collaborate so much more. And I think the FOMO comes from the traditional IT world not necessarily being experts in the new developing AI data algorithm world, and the data AI innovation on that right hand side. They're doing it in the likes of public clouds. You're seeing the data leaks, you're seeing the issues when it comes to not necessarily doing the governance. I think within IT, you've got a lot of well-established vendors, and they've been doing governance, due diligence, even down to understanding sustainability impact. So there becomes this like big old school legacy of governance and understanding. And then you've got like these cool startup funky developers that don't necessarily see that. So I think like that collaboration is what we're beginning to see. And this is why we're seeing all the legislation crop up around the world, a lot of focus on sovereignty and control of data. So I think on the right-hand side, you've got a maturing in terms of the understanding there. And then the left-hand side, you've also got maturing in terms of we can't do things like we've always done. We need to evolve, and we need to evolve at pace. And because there was always this phrase of shadow IT in every business. It's like the innovative people just go away and do it, and they get the kudos for it. But the problem with that is, how do you govern it? How do you control it? And I think if we can meet in the middle, that is where the true innovation starts.
Yeah, I think leveling up on both sides is really, really important. Is a really, really interesting topic, because I think if you've got product, non-product, tech and non-tech people both leveling up in terms of what can we do, what are its limitations. So the biggest one I see, actually thinking about this, is that there's a lot of disparity when it comes to implementing AI into an existing business when you're the CEO versus when you're the VP of software engineering. I think the CEO is like, okay, let's implement AI, let's go all in on it, and this is what I want the ROI to be. And the VP is like, hang on. First of all, it's not that straightforward. Second of all, it costs a bomb. Third of all, there's no ROI like that in the world that exists. And I think there's a bit of education needed probably on both sides, because a VP doesn't think like a CEO, and a CEO doesn't think like a VP of software, right? Because they do different jobs for a reason. So I think this leveling up that you're talking about across the business or across the industry in general is only a good thing. And then to go back to your original point as well about business process automation, AI, digital transformation, let's start talking about those a bit more rather than AI. You just AI.
It's not sexy though, is it? So this is why
it won't raise funds.
Failed. Well, it can. It just depends. Like, because you do anything with AI doesn't mean you should. Like the real world, like when I was working at my MSP, it was really easy, right? We had a cost for hardware, we had a cost for our underlying services, whether that was the engineers. So we could work out our baseline cost, and then we could apply a margin, and then we know what kind of revenue we're going to make, so we could actually be profitable. In this new world of AI, everybody's struggling with that baseline cost. So how the hell do you calculate an ROI of a project? And sometimes it doesn't even need to be monetary, right? Some of the easiest things you can do is around user experience and things like that. But if it's going to cost you $1 billion to implement it, do you need to? No, you probably want to go down the business process automation route, do it as rapidly as possible, understand the fixed cost of developing that software to do that business process automation.
Yeah, so true. I wanted to talk to you about something that I'm quite passionate about, which is sustainability. This is AI, but this is kind of, I guess, software and tech in general. I've got my views on it. I said on the podcast last week that the world is probably going to turn into a raisin if we keep sucking all the energy and the power out of it. But what are your thoughts on the whole sustainability piece coming from like AI and new tech and compute power and stuff like that? What do you personally think?
Links back to what I've just said. Like, there's so many things that you can do, but if there's ultimately no ROI, whether that's like for the greater good of humanity, if it's just like generating pictures of your dog with a bow tie on it, and you've just cost us like a liter of water and a shed load of electricity, like, do we need to do that? Probably not.
Depends what business you've got, I suppose.
From a sustainability point of view, my side is making sure that everything about it is sustainable. The first place you start with that is understanding the base cost, whether that's the base cost in terms of the amount of power you're using, the hardware you're using. You then can kind of like come up with a formula to understand actually it's either worth doing it or it's not worth doing it based on the value that you get out of it. I think the challenge we had 2 years ago is everybody said, oh, we need to come up with use cases. Everybody wanted use cases because they wanted to implement them. In terms of that base cost, that base understanding, don't care about that. We need to implement AI. Whereas now, I think 2 years in, everybody's maturing. I think they realize that they can't do everything or why you'd want to do everything. But I think from a sustainability point of view, there's some things that you can do to overcome the hurdle. Some of them to do with hardware, software optimization, some of them just understanding how your workload is operating. So these AI algorithms, these AI large language models, applications developed around them will be using compute resource. So it's like, how do you best optimize the hardware? You can do that with industry-leading hardware. You can do it with technologies like direct liquid cooling, which will give you extra performance, but it will also reduce your power consumption. So there's things physically that you can do, but then there's things that you can do from a where you source your power and electric. So at HPE, where I work, we partner with some really cool co-location providers. Some of them are based in the Nordics. They use the local Ford to help cool the data center, but also to help power it. So, and some are claiming 100% carbon free. So these ways and means to innovate, but it goes back to what we originally discussed. That is data center modernization. It's not very sexy. It involves bricks and mortar. We've probably gone through the past 10 years where everybody's gone, you know what, cloud is a destination that we need to get to. And I think with the sovereignty challenges, the security challenges that we're seeing in the current climate, that is kind of doing a complete shift. So sustainability, it's a big subject. Where do you want to go into it?
I know, that's what I mean, right? That's why it's so fascinating. And, you know, personally, I'm quite interested in it anyway. So at AI Summit, where you and I met, I bumped into a founder of a company who were founded a few years ago now, maybe 5-6 years ago, and they focused on cloud sustainability, you know, tech sustainability. And the founder said to me that one of the challenges that he faces is that he's going into businesses and he's pitching his business model, and all of the board of these enterprise businesses are saying that, you know, green and sustainability and everything is on their agenda, but when it comes to pushing the button on these sustainability projects, they always get trumped for some other thing in the business that's going to generate immediate revenue or that's going to push the business forward, rightly or wrongly so. I don't know, but the point is that sustainability is on everyone's manifest, but nobody seems to action it because it always takes a back seat compared to other things in the business. So that founder who I met has now pivoted and no longer offers that sustainability piece. his company no longer is in that kind of space, and he's pivoted into this AI space now because there's more business in that area. So you can generate more revenue, you can grow the company, and then the sustainability piece can maybe tag on towards the back end. And I just thought it's quite a sad story about how company with such good intentions, with all of the right things at their disposal, just couldn't generate the revenue because it just wasn't important enough for businesses to action it.
It's weird because I present quite a lot around like sustainability. My main go-to response is I care because I've got 3 kids. But I think in because I like to paint this picture of maximum efficiency, like make sure that you've got the correct hardware tailored to the workload, which then means you can predict how that system's going to operate. You can know with a degree of certainty how much power that's like generating. And I call it marginal gains because I see like a lot of the technologies that we've got available today, they are great, but there's a lot more that can be done. I think from my side, the direct liquid cooling is becoming a very hot topic, pardon the pun. But there's logic behind it. Is there going to be better technology in the future? Possibly. But I think me, it's all around, and I love the sporting analogy around marginal gains and just getting those extra little bits out of the infrastructure or maximizing that little bit of power that you put into the system to showcase to you that ROI or that revenue that you're trying to generate.
Yeah, absolutely. Was it Clive Woodward that was the marginal gains author?
Yeah.
So. Yeah, cool. Yeah, I read that.
I use it a lot. I use it a lot just in business. That's how
well, it makes sense. You can apply it to a number of things as well, right? Marginal gains with my 6-month-old daughter. Last night she had a couple of spoonfuls of broccoli. Tonight she'll have a bit more. We're just getting there. Marginal gains. We're getting better each day. But no, I get it. I completely get it. And sustainability piece, for me, it's important. Same as you. When you kind of things are readjusting your head when you bring little ones into the world, and you just think to yourself, in the world they're growing up in now, that these conversations and these initiatives will make a big difference to us, but to them, their life is ahead of them. So it's good to get your thoughts on that. We kind of spoke about this earlier, but I wanted to ask you a bit more of a direct question on it. What's one of the most basic but yet probably profound steps a business can take towards ensuring successful AI?
So right now, the easiest thing to like even qualify if you're ready for like mainstream AI adoption is if you've classified, categorized, and understood what data you have. Like that's going to be, if you don't do anything, just understanding what data you have, what data is valuable, how accurate it is, and how important it is to your business. Understanding that is the best thing you can do. So if we go back to marginal gains, this is getting you to the starting line, right? Without doing that, you won't even go to a starting line.
Yeah.
You can dabble, and you could probably like implement a large language model, do it on premise, bang in your data. You might get some stuff out of it, and 50% of it might be good, 50% of it might be trash. But if we go back to marginal gains, like this is all about getting it to 100%. When I ask it the question the first time, it's based on my data. My data is rock solid. We've done our due diligence on it. We've done our governance, and it gives me the best answer first time. The example I give a lot is like when you ask ChatGPT a question and it gives you the wrong answer straight away, you know it, and you get it to ask another one, you just literally caused more power, more cooling. And the famous quote with Sam on Twitter saying, please and thank you, is costing them millions from an OpenAI point of view. Like, if that doesn't highlight the challenge enough, I don't know what does.
Really?
You'll have to find it, that picture. If this is going to end up in a video, you're going to have to like slap it up. Yeah.
Oh, here you go. Look.
Please and thank you.
Sam Altman admits that saying please and thank you to ChatGPT is wasting millions of dollars in computing power. You never know. If chivalry isn't already dead, it's certainly circling the drain. Oh my God.
How bad's that though? Like you think about it, because like the entire topic of the AI world has been around this perception of tokens and token generation. And it's really easy to understand it in Sam's world, because
Mm.
Sam's world is every like 2.5 bits of words that it produces or interprets or reads is a token. For a lot of applications, it's really hard to make that direct correlation between a token. But everybody's like talking about tokens, token economics, the cost of the token. And if please and thank you is costing him millions, just think what sort of impact having bad data, bad questions, bad
Yeah.
users asking bad questions is going to have on your bottom line.
Wow. There's a thing that says when it clocks politeness, it's more likely to be polite back. How funny. Imagine we're talking about the free version of GPT as well. People are like really prompting that free basic version. That's so funny. Where I wanted to close this with you was something that you and I had a pretty honest conversation about before, offline. And you're not somebody who thinks in zeros and ones, right? That's what you said to me. So I wanted to talk about your superpower, because we spoke about that we spoke about this topic before, but I'll keep it vague like that. Did you want to kind of just introduce what we spoke about?
So you were cybersharking me on LinkedIn, and one of my opening statements is utilizing dyslexic thinking. And it's always a strange one, because I am not officially diagnosed, but I'm blatantly dyslexic. I can't spell anything other than fudge, which ironically spelled my GCSEs as well. But from a like a weird growing up, and then you're having 3 kids, and you start to identify different neurodiversity amongst your kids, and then yourself, and like understanding why you can't spell, but you can look at a puzzle very differently and figure it out in 30 seconds flat when everybody else is still scratching their heads. Yeah, I don't know if it's not thinking in zeros and ones. I think my zeros and ones just operate a lot quicker.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah.
You got faster compute power.
But the zeros and ones get connected quicker. So it's like, it's not that answer, it is this one. It's not is. So it's a strange one. I make the connections a little bit quicker than some people. I'm not a genius by any stretch of the mean. I just like simplification in life, and as soon as I see like complicated things and words like AI factory and tokens being mainstream, and you just like, you sit there and you go, that's not even a thing.
Yeah.
And you get it from a marketing point of view, yeah, great. But actually, from a real world, I'm really, probably part due to the dyslexia, I'm a real hands-on learner. So
Right.
I just get stuck in, try and understand the problem. And when you give me a concept like AI factory and you sell it to me like it's a real physical thing that you can buy on a shelf, my brain breaks.
Yeah.
And just over the past 12 months, actually watching the market mature, looking at Nvidia and their announcements, and I think they've got the marketing brand, they've got the gravitas, but sometimes, me personally, I feel like it's from a normal person point of view that's not in that hype bubble and reading every single document, it's really difficult to stay on track. And what we've been talking about around sustainability, power challenges, we're talking about the data of this data center of the future, which, put in another context, is an AI factory.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. And I think this topic around what we're talking about now, how, kind of solving puzzles where people might be struggling, and these types of things, it's really, really fascinating, really interesting. And I don't know about you, but I don't really hear too many tech podcasts. There's plenty of podcasts, but there's not really tech podcasts or tech chats that really dive into that subject too well. They might scratch the surface on it, but I just wanted to hear somebody's take on it firsthand, on kind of how your brain works, how you solve problems when you see something complex. Because, in your career, in what you do, you've obviously worked with people, you might have led people, you might have been led by people. So how does that work in that environment, especially with what we're talking about today, which is I don't, it's not a new concept, but relatively new in terms of like there's all these new buzzwords, all these new tech that's being thrown out there, AI factories, as you've mentioned. So how do you just decipher all of that?
Oh yeah, it's weird. I started as a tech, and my MD at the time, she said I wasn't commercially aware enough, whatever that meant, because I had career aspirations. I wanted to be a director of the company, lead it on some sort of charge. And she said, "You're not commercially aware enough." So like my brain went, "All right," and I went and got a job doing a product management role at Fujitsu of all places. So looking after a portfolio, understanding the revenue, all that sort of stuff. But typically, my conversations early in my career would have been very much around the technical challenge. And it goes back to the conversation we were having earlier, right? I was more concerned around solving the technical puzzle than what I couldn't see at the time. And I don't know if this is like part of the neurodiverse nature of like techies, is I didn't have like an ambition or a drive towards financial results or business results. I think a lot of techies still like struggle with that. They're there to be the subject matter experts in the domain of technical. That is their mantra. It's like, I know all this cool stuff about this niche thing. That's my cool part. And then I was very much in that camp. But then I realized as soon as I could like blend both worlds together, the commercial and the technical, that's where I ended up having a lot of fun. And there's not many people that I've met that are like dead center. You usually see like the really commercial people right side, really technical people left hand side.
Yeah, that's funny. And then they would typically kind of go left or right and then upwards in their career, right? So you don't really get the dead center people. So you would say you're kind of that more center person.
I love it as well because it's the non-technical people like really don't get it. So like getting a way to interpret into the business the technical challenge, that's always been my superpower. So if we go back to simplicity, right, CXO does not need to know that the challenge is to do with some IOPS sat on a storage device. They don't care. The answer is we need to upgrade to this, and it'll give us the level of performance that we need. Like that's all they need.
Yeah. Product would be an interesting job for you then, wouldn't it? Obviously, that's where you started, right? So that because product people as well, by nature, the people that I've met are very much people. A lot of time commercial as well. Some less techy than others. So that's quite a broad role for you to step into. You can kind of define it, I guess, depending on what company you're at, right?
It's pretty much what I'm doing at the moment. It's because it's not one thing, right? So a lot of the current day job is like defining a market, working with marketing, working with sales, working with technical, to come up with a credible go-to-market plan that's technically validated, commercially savvy, is hitting customer pain points, and as you say, like sustainability, it's kind of a hot subject, but also a cool subject at the same time. I think where the sustainability message really resonates and where we're seeing success is where we can showcase the best return on investment with the most sustainable credentials in the market. And like as soon as you got those two blended, it's like a win-win. It's like we're getting the best solution, but we're also having the best impact on the environment that we could have. But yeah, I agree with Rio's statements earlier. It's important, but
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Matt, that's it. This has been really, really cool. I feel like I could carry on this conversation for a long time, but we both got day jobs. So we'll leave it there. Thank you very much, and we'll catch up offline.
Thanks for having me, man. Been good fun.
Yeah, I've enjoyed it. Cheers.